Speech off.
The handler, which would be Officer Teka, finds another residence to live in. We don't have a shelter that's set up that we have to leave there and then put money into it again. We'll be able to move it to whatever that location is. Officer Teka has also been able to obtain the highway safety grants at approximately $8,000. And upon receiving the K-9, to be named at a later date, Officer Teka will begin training and obtain certifications in narcotic detection, handler protection, and tracking. These are a total of about 16 weeks of training for the handler and the K-9. Any of the funds left over after disbursements will be used to maintain the program. At this time, it's approximately $4,853 left over. We will continue to welcome any donations since the program is donation based at all times. And we as the police department are extremely grateful for our community that not only supports this program, but it supports our officers on an everyday basis. So we are extremely grateful for this community and what they've done for us here. Questions?
For all your officers' work. Thanks for those for the building.
Appreciate it. Officer Stanky did all the work, I'm just taking the credit, right? Appreciate it.
See you now, you're gonna have to train. Move on to item 9, Treasurer's Monthly Report on City Utility Financial Aid.
City Treasurer's Report as of May 31st, 2025. Total city funds, $11,482,940.27. Total utility funds, $11,771,243.23. Total city and utility funds combined, $23,254,183.50. Questions on the treasurer's report?
Item 10, City Administrator's Monthly Report on departmental activity and budget status.
Thank you, Mayor. This report is for the end of May 2025. Staff and I and Katie Drake, we wrapped up our second round of budget discussions with staff. We met with most staff. Some of the departments hadn't changed too dramatically from the first meeting. So we brought back in some of the departments to discuss where they were at and potential changes to their budgets. What we would like to do, kind of extend this out a little bit, is to have some of the draft budget by July 11th is the target that we set. That way we have time to send that out to council before we meet for our work sessions. And that is set for July 21st through 24th. So if you want to kind of have a look at your calendars and mark those dates down for our sessions. We're going to use the same format and put out a more specific schedule this week. We'll probably mirror what we did last year. But if there are any conflicts, let us know right away, and then that way we can work with the schedule and see what we get here. And again, those are all public meetings, so everyone's welcome to attend. We bring in our staff, our department heads to discuss the upcoming budget and talk about any changes that we need to make. Yes. We've done morning and afternoon sessions in the past, so we don't typically start too early, and we typically don't go too late. So it's usually a couple hours in the morning, a couple in the afternoon. And I believe one of the days, might be Thursday, we only went in the morning, so it's not too long throughout each day. So, but again, if there's any concerns, we can get the budget just going on. We did the retirement sign up. If you guys remember, we brought to council the changes in the employee retirement. We went through the sign up process and it went fairly well. We got some input back from the staff on how it may be able to go a little bit better, but overall we got everybody signed up. So that's something that I know came to council a couple different times, and we had really good help from Pathfinder and their staff, so I appreciate everybody's effort in that. So that's been completed. Moving on to the current budget, we're 67% complete. The departments, again, have done really well to maintain their budgets and stay within their budgeted amounts. There are some line items that are at or over. I mentioned last council meeting that we had some repairs in the EMS department, so that continues. We've had some pretty big expenses. We're at or just over 100% in that particular line item. The bottom line number for the department remains pretty good. All of them, we're getting into the home stretch. We gotta watch everything. We want to encourage everybody to be responsible with the budgets, especially when we get towards the end. We'll put out a memo basically just stay within your budget or below, so we can focus on carrying funds over to the next fiscal year. Some of the revenues look low. We're gonna get into the seasonal year, so those will start to hit. I know initial reports in golf sounds like it's doing very well. So I take my hat off to staff. Tori's doing a great job there. Pool might be a little low because we got off to a slow start because of the weather. It's not great for the kids, but the bright side is the expenses are down while the weather's bad. So hopefully we'll get caught up. I think now that the weather's starting to get nicer, we'll see our numbers start to increase again. We've been watching the sales tax receipts come in. They're a little slower over the winter, but May's came in a little bit higher. We have an idea what we need to see for an average over the next few months. We were above that for the month of May, so all indications is that we should still have a good summer and end up hopefully above what we projected. And right now, May's any indication we should be okay there as well. But it's something that we're definitely going to have to keep track of and report back to council on. Let's see. I think that's all I have, unless you have any questions.
I believe in a couple of weeks, we need to enforce the way through this budget.
Before you know, closing the pool and all, it was fast. So,
Any other questions, Commissioner? Thank you, Barry.
thank you.
Now move on to new business. Item 11, discussion/action regarding the Cargill odor. I just want to let I know there's a lot of concerned folks here. I want you to know that myself and the commissioners all are aware of it. We have empathy for everybody out there that knows the smell. We've been getting a lot of calls and emails, and that's fine. We'll keep up with how it's going. We have kept in contact with Cargill, not the local plant manager, Nate Meyer, and Barry are in close contact. But we continue to bi-weekly meetings with Crystal Fussell, who's the director of operations for prepared foods out of Wichita. And in her meeting today, I have been saying short-term and long-term. And after today's meeting, after we followed up today's meeting with Cargill with the meeting between my office and the utilities, to kind of go over what they told us and take their experts and see what they thought if Cargill was on the right track. Right? Say from the folks in our utilities, they think Cargill is working on it. That they are trying and doing different things and they can see that. But after today's meeting with Cargill, I think what we really have is we have what I'll call an immediate or very short term, which is what they're trying to do is through different means of chemicals. And as Crystal pointed out, as they apply chemicals and they're bringing in experts from outside that do this very in-depth kind of work for a living, it's not just Cargill personnel, but they're bringing in contractors. They're doing a lot of things with chemical first, but they don't want to overdrive it. So they have to take their time doing it to make sure that they measure. They're measuring locally and taking sampling locally on chemicals and sludge. And they're also doing that remote through a third-party contractor that does this with all their knowledge. is trying to bring down the odor by use of locking it up with chemicals. Best case path, a lot of the chemicals that they've tried, when they figure out that they're gonna try and use a chemical, it takes some time to get it in, and then they have to spend some time making sure that they get the right dosage, that it mixes in with their short term, trying to fix the sludge and the biological system. And then it also keeps them in compliance with us, and helps us keep in compliance with the state on our utility side. They don't have the current chemical that they believe on hand, they should get it within the next week, but then they will start applying that chemical in different dosages to get to the right spot. They think that's the chemical that will help with the odor. So you're not gonna see anything tomorrow or the next day or probably next week. We hope that that is an answer, and then hopefully over the next following weeks you'll see it, and you'll be able to tell the difference. What I've been calling short term, I was hoping the sludge and all that would be sooner, but that's going to take more time. They're pulling out sludge with the bacteria that's essentially been killed. They're putting in new sludge from their Skyler plant, which has live bacteria, and they're also seeding bacteria. So they're trying to add these chemicals as well as bring the system back up to what it was pre-COVID, to where the anaerobic lagoon functions properly, building up with biologicals, eating the proteins, creating methane gas that they pull off, and then they use to their heaters and their ovens. And then it goes into the aerobic side with no or little odor, not like the odor we have now. And then it comes into our system. The long-term fix is they are bringing in other contracting companies to do complete engineering overhauls. But their thumbnail is that that's in the tens of millions, estimated cost right now, but they are proceeding with that. And Prepared Foods Division of Cargill is gonna go to that, their headquarters Cargill, to get a long-term, to get a refurbished plant. It would be a tens of millions of dollars project. It wouldn't be within the next 6 to 8 months. But it was encouraging when Crystal said, Cargill looks at this plant being here for a long time. They like being in Nebraska City, they're sorry this is happening, but they see this plant being there long after she retires and leaves from Cargill. So she's hoping to get the funds moved up in the Cargill system on the long-term redesign. So that short term though, the sludge, getting sludge back up, getting it operating. And since COVID, we've been at different levels of the bacteria working correctly and all that. The smells have gone down, it's come back. But they think with the extra help that they get, that they can get the sludge system and the anaerobic and the digesters working properly, and get it to function where it will function in the meantime before they totally re-engineer and redesign the plant system. So that's where we are. And again, I want to say, I know this is very close impact to has a lot of impact on the quality of your life on a day-to-day, and when you want to go outside and enjoy the weather and enjoy yourself outside your home or even being in your home, it has an impact on it. But I'll continue to say, right now, we're seeing progress from Cargill, and we'll continue to work with them to make sure that we continue to progress. Is there anything else?
No?
So if you're here tonight and would like to speak, I would certainly love to hear from you. Or if you have questions about what I just said, or something you might pose that we think of. I have. Yes, sir.
Dean Jenrette, 507 Darrell's Drive, and I just was kinda like to tell you about my week. Friday night when I went to bed, I was awakened around 1 o'clock, and, with the smell in my house. And I got back to sleep maybe 2:30. Saturday night, a different story. Went to bed, 9:30, about around 1 o'clock, I was awakened by this terrible smell in my house. And as you can tell, I'm a little hoarse right now. And, I went around and I checked every window to make sure they were latched. Went to the deck, bath. I, went to every drain in my house, the smell. And I determined, I even opened the dryer let's see, if smell from the dryer bin. The only thing I could come up with was, it was coming in from my vent in my main bathroom. And, so, it was near 5 o'clock before I was able to get back to sleep. And you can't open the windows to get the smell out of there, so what do? And, then Sunday was not a good day. This morning, I completely soaked 3 handkerchiefs the first thing this morning, and another one during the day. And, it seems to be worse. I, thumbing through the internet, I run across an article about, very similar to what we have here today. Processing wastewater treatment and odor control. But, article in, Fresno paper in 1994 solved this problem. And I do have, some handouts here that if you'll be interested in having, and I apologize, I did not print out enough, but I did get rid of some already. But, if you'd like to have them, I would be pleased that you would take them.
Oh, definitely prepared to have one, because we are getting calls from other people that are hearing about this, other companies that do this type of work. Just see how they can do the customer department, and maybe help them.
Yeah. Okay, thank you. Yeah, and, you know, on this, what they did back in 1994, they got rid of the sludge, they broke the dams, got rid of the sludge, and treat the lagoons, every week. And they've got it under control, using the water for irrigation purposes, and very few passes that, I would
Sure.
appreciate that.
Absolutely.
Any other question for me? Thank you for your.
Thanks, James.
Dean, what was your address again? I'm sorry.
507 Harold's.
Anybody else would like to speak? Go ahead. Stand in line. Go ahead, Mike.
Go ahead. Dwayne Stewart, 4401 Fort Porcelain, Nebraska City. I had looking today on the Nebraska City city ordinances, just kind of familiarize myself with what mandates are out there. So bear with me a little bit. Chapter 18, Health and Sanitation. And specifically, Section 1846 basically defines various definitions for what's defined as a nuisance. And several line items include offensive to the senses, essentially interferes with comfortable enjoyment of life and property, or tends to depreciate the value of the property of others. This one's interesting. Pits or like places which are foul and malodorous, if I'm pronouncing it right. And there's another one that kind of gets into animal products, stockyards, cattle pens, but it has some verbiage in there about animal matter which is stored and maintained, kept in such a manner that foul and noxious odors are permitted to emanate therefrom to the annoyance of inhabitants of the city. And also within this same chapter, it talks about the enforcements. And it goes on to state section 18-47, the mayor, city building inspector, or the city police department shall enforce the provisions of this article against all nuisances within the city. And, basically goes on to further state that, with the nuisances defined within the section that I just read, the city may elect to enforce provisions of this article, by complaint in the county court. And it goes on further to talk about enforcements by the courts, and it gets into, fine definitions. And, I'll let you guys, read it for details, but it basically, has specific verbiage in there about, a fine for $100 for each violation for every 24-hour period. So just doing a quick math, I mean, the fines can go ranging from one violation for 365 days, 36,000 all the way up to 150K, just from the violations that I looked at. In section 1859, if the mayor, city building inspector, or Nebraska City Police find any violation of the provisions of these ordinances, the Nebraska City Police Department shall, the mayor, city building inspector, or Nebraska City Police Department shall notify the offender, basically, is what it's saying. So I guess one of my questions tonight is, I think we can agree that the violations, the nuisances as defined by the ordinance here, I think we can agree that there's at least a couple that fall within that category. My question is, has Cargill been notified of the ordinance violations?
Yes.
They've been officially notified, is this like documented, or?
They haven't been cited, if that's what you're asking.
Well, I'm just talking being notified.
Yes, by us, through our meetings.
Okay, is that like in public record, that we can,
No, we don't have, we haven't sent them a letter.
I mean, I guess my question is, not that I don't trust you, but if I wanted to look at a document that says they've been notified, is there a document out there that I can look at that says that, or is this all like by telephone, or?
Yeah, I mean, if you wanna know, like, how many times we've had email conversations, or dates, or telephone, or in-person meetings, I mean, I've been there.
I mean, just something specific that I can say, I can look at a piece of paper from the city council to Cargill saying, somewhere documenting, yes, they have been notified. I understand my position.
No,
If Cargill could easily say, well, we've been notified.
Right. I guess I'm just,
I will
a
be
little
happy
tripped
to
up on
send
it.
them.
Yeah,
I'll
okay.
send them a letter.
Okay, very good. Again, sticking with the ordinance, chapter 18, health and sanitation. It goes on, article 2 is the Board of Health. And it goes on to say the Board of Health consists of 5 members: the mayor, a physician, the chief of police, and 2 other members. One of my other question is the Board of Health aware of the city council meetings associated with Cargill and the obnoxious smells?
The Board of Health, city administrator and I have discussed it. Looking at what NDE has told us, is that it's not a health threat. It hasn't risen to it's a malodor, but it's not a health threat. If I thought it was a health threat, then just like I did all during COVID, I would convene the Board of Health.
Okay.
Can you repeat who you referred to there? Who were you quoting said it was safe? I don't hear it.
NDEE, Nebraska Department, what is it?
Health and Environment.
Environment and Energy. They've not found anything in their reports or their answers to complaints that they believe any chemical is present.
And just help me out, just for familiarity, I'm not familiar with the Board of Health. Again, I'm reading this for the first time today. Our physician, who's the representative physician?
Brad Bassett,
Right? Mr. Bassett? And the two other members?
Wendy Snodgrass, and Greg Goble. Wendy, because she's tied in closely with, is still a medic, but she works for the state on paramedic issues, and Greg Goble is our county emergency manager.
Okay, very good. And again, bear with me. I was looking at another ordinance, it's, chapter 36, utilities, this may interest you, Mr. Board. It gets into, section 3687, which has a longer list of prohibited items. And quite honestly, I didn't go through the details, there was just one that caught my eye, which, any water or waste having a pH lower than 5.5, which is basically telling you that it's a fairly acidic, waste. And then there's another section, 3688, which, basically allows the utility manager to basically waive certain discharges. And I guess my question, and this probably goes for Mr. Board, but I'm not sure if the Nebraska City Utilities, is aware of these prohibited discharges, and if they keep track of it, and if there's a way of communicating that to the public. If you don't have an answer, that's fine, I was just, long story short, I guess what my goal here is, Mr. Moore, being a new member of the utilities,
Mr. Coors is not, and he's here present also.
oh, okay, very good. If they're not familiar with, the city ordinance, chapter 36 utilities, there's a lot of details in there, and I'm just not sure how, the compliance with the requirements within, this ordinance is, performed by utilities, so. We can talk to utilities later on that. So with that said, for the actual cause, we keep hearing the term bugs. Is the cause the bugs in the pond? I've heard discussions that it's not the pond, it's the lines that go to the pond are clogged, and they have to use chemicals to treat those lines, to free up the lines so it can get to the pond, and that's what's killing the pond bugs. I've also heard that there's a lift station between the plant and the pond. I believe there's another temporary pond that has a lift station that gets it to the pond. I guess my question is, as a board member, do we clearly understand what the problem is?
I believe I do. Not to the level of the chemist, not to the level of our wastewater superintendent, or the level of Stewart and folks at the utilities, but I believe, I know from having toured Cargill 2 or 3 times, and specifically that process, and everything that happened during COVID over the last 5 years, yes, I believe I know what's happening.
So it's, the problem with, is it with the bugs in the pond, is it
The
the?
system originally designed, and when it was put in, was that when they clean the floor, and they go through in the 3rd shift, and they clean and sanitize, that's what 3rd shift does, is clean and sanitize. Up to that point, there's very little going to the lagoons. But 3rd shift, when they come in and clean and sanitize, used to, they could spray down everything and use certain disinfectants that could travel right along with it through their drain system out into their anaerobic lagoon. That's their big lagoon covered with a big rubber membrane.
Okay, yep.
Inside of that is biologicals, live biological entities that eat the protein. They eat the protein and the waste that comes off of the plant. That creates heat and methane. The methane is trapped inside the rubber bladder. they would pull that off to help keep their ovens and keep their utility rates down. Then it comes out of that anaerobic, no oxygen in there, because that's how that bug nest breaks down protein. And once the water of that is at a certain level, it's pulled next door to the aerobic lagoon that has augers in it, that spin it and churn it and all that. When I toured that plant in 20.
That's the smaller lagoon, a little bit to the north and east? Okay.
I stood next to that lagoon, there was no smell, maybe a slight chlorinated smell, but it wasn't like I even smell now at some points in the city. It comes off of that, then into our utilities, and before it hits our utilities, we have a measuring station that takes a daily sample of what Margaret was saying, so we collect those samples weekly. I can't tell you if there's a lift station, Mr. Coors possibly can tell you the actual mechanics of how it gets from that anaerobic lagoon off into our system, but I have toured that and believe that what has happened during COVID, they used a new sanitizer because everybody, and it got into their lagoon and it killed the biological agents. Or took them down to a level that they couldn't function, taking care of all the proteins and all of that. And then they had to start using more chemicals to try and help them. And since 2000, it's been 2020, it's been an up and down battle with trying to keep the biologicals which live in the sludge and make sludge, keep the sludge in the mix and the biologicals right.
So, you mentioned earlier that they're seeking help from a Skylar plant.
There's a seeking plant that has a similar type system as they pull off sludge from this plant that they don't believe has the active bugs in it, the bacteria. They can pull off their Skylar lagoon and bring in sludge from that has the bacteria in it. They will allow that just to give it a gene.
Right, so they're basically, I mean, getting, I'm gonna say, good bugs from Skylar to help implement.
As well as we believe also seeding brand new bugs. But you want bugs, these bugs will create a tolerance to certain chemicals and cleaners, which allows them to be used as a tougher cleaner or sanitizer, and the bugs will build up an endurance to that. But
Does Skylar have similar odor problems?
I'm not aware. I don't know.
Okay. You mentioned, some of the immediate actions within, a week or so, testing out these new, chemicals they're gonna try and implement. Is there like a timeline or consequences? If they don't do it by a certain date, if they don't have this fixed, what's the net, is there gonna be some sort of consequences for Cargill or?
No, we have not made any consequences on part of those.
I mean,
I have not
you
cited
can-
them as a nuisance. I've been working with them to make sure that they're working towards it and working up through the Cargill chain to get more and more visibility on this.
Yes, sir.
They need to fix it.
As you all know, if there's not some sort of consequences on the table by a certain date, it's gonna be very easy to push that date out, push, and as a citizen, that just concerns me. I think Cargill has a responsibility to be a good steward of the community. Now, I know they do some good things, donations and everything, that's good, but yet the smell is offensive is an understatement. And again, I'm just up here speaking, I know several of you guys, it's not personal. However, this problem has been persisting for years. We were here discussing this, and quite honestly, when I hear the short-term fix, it sounds like they're experimenting with the fix, and they really don't have a good fix. They're gonna try this new chemical and wait for a couple weeks, hopefully it works, maybe it won't work. I'm just not, I don't have a high sense of confidence that they have the actual fix. That's just my take on it. Any questions from me?
They did not claim today that it's 100% on this chemical either. They tried others, and now they're trying this. But
Yeah.
they assured us they're working all three things. Get rid of it immediately if they can, balance with chemical, work on getting the sludge pond back to working up like it was before, and long-term total
Yeah.
plant design.
Quite honestly, that, in my opinion, that's disturbing. They should, they've been in this business for a long time, they got other plants around the country. They should know what the fix is.
Well, they know who to bring in, and that's who they're bringing.
Okay? That's all I have. Thank you, gentlemen.
Thank you. Yes, sir.
My name is Rick Schulber, 1605 Fifth Corso. And I just wanted to clarify something. I keep hearing and seeing, this started around COVID. I beg to differ with that because I've got a business right alongside 19th or Industrial Road. The utilities had a full-time guy by the name of Donnie Kingery that went out and tested the sewer line along there every day. And this was way before COVID. The other thing was, before COVID, they brought in an engineer, specialty engineer from Texas. You have to be a real good friend with him. And he threw his hands and said, they won't listen to me out there, they wanna just push it under the rug so we can save money. And I'm hoping, I mean, I wanna be a good neighbor too, but they've got to cooperate a little bit too. And I know you guys are tired of hearing that. You guys can't stand up and stop them either. But we do want you guys working on our side to get it taken care of. But like I said, as far as COVID, it was way before that. So, just letting everybody know. Thank you.
I have someone in back that wanted to speak, Dean, just had to say that. Kim, did you still want to speak?
Yep.
Please take my call.
He's coming with the mic.
I will come back to you.
Okay. 10 Morgan, 2013 Central Avenue, Nebraska City, Nebraska. I have heard tonight really brought up some points. I have visited with the senators and the governors, and every time they're on, talk to somebody on the phone, it is documented. So the public is aware and it's being recorded. And if I remember right, with the Zoom meeting being recorded, you guys also get it so the public can see what was discussed tonight, if I remember right?
No, that's not correct.
Right, we publish meeting minutes.
The minutes, yeah.
We do not publish the recording. It's available if anyone wanted to have it, but it's a large file size. So it's available, but it's not published. But the minutes are.
Okay. Well, my other question is, I mean, people are asking, I mean, I hear it's not a health issue. When does it become a health issue? People have COPD, it's trapping them. They're having problems breathing. To me, that's a health issue. So, but so my what I'd like to kind of draw a point is, I'm visually challenged, so I kind of want to draw a picture. To me, it's like Nebraska City has a dome over the top of it, and we got a fan, you know, when the wind comes up and it rains or whatever, and within 4 miles, whatever, of Cargill, it's gonna be impacted. So it's like if you go out to the Ambassador Wellness Center, you open the door, you're gonna smell the chlorine from the pool. This is a bigger picture, but that was how I was drawing it in my mind. I kind of been following this, every time this gets brought up, it was like 4 years ago. It happens right around election time. And I don't think it has anything to do with the election, but it just seems like it, and it was going since 2000. Okay, thank you.
Anybody else? Yeah, go ahead.
Beach and 507 Gerald's Drive. I just had a couple of questions that, I'd forgotten about and the conversation was brought up. First of all, I did scanning through the environmental, reports on Cargill. I noticed there was one, violation of a gasket that in one of the pipes that, was in violation. I was wondering, and this has been a while back, and I honestly have not had time to, completely look over the reports.
Talking about all the documents on NDE's website?
Yes, and, there was one violation that I thought, and it was a leaky gasket, and I just wondered if that had been repaired, and it was from some time, a little time back.
Yes, there is that thing developed. Do you don't
Yeah.
remember the timeframe generally?
No, I didn't.
There's a lot of documents on it.
Yeah, one of the, pretty lengthy, as you know, and, but,
If you find that again, would you please let Karen know?
I will.
And we can get you answers to how they think that.
We can look up and see if there's any corresponding documents on follow-up, so if you have a date and, if
Yeah.
it's just a date, let me know, I can.
Yeah,
I'll work on it.
I've got the documents, so I can definitely find them.
Sounds good, appreciate it.
Because NDEQ, it could come down and visit the facility and do a report straight with them, and we wouldn't necessarily talk to them.
Right.
He wants to find it.
Yeah, and the other question I had, the lift station, is that the lift station near my place?
No.
It is not. Okay. All right, thank
So
you.
we have to lift off the Cargill to get it.
No, there,
Since it's come up, Jeff, please explain what lift stations are between Cargill and the wastewater treatment.
Jeff Orr's, general manager for Nebraska City Utilities. There's a lift station just outside of Terre Haute. That's to serve that area. That's a lower area, and then that's force main fed up into our system, and that's owned by Nebraska City Utilities. That's for the houses in that area to collect that and then push that into our gravity fed system and the rest of the world.
Okay.
I believe Cargill has a lift station, but I could not speak to where that's actually at, but I think it's located in close proximity to their aerobic.
It's on their side of the
system.
line.
Yeah,
So
it would be their property.
So it does not come down Fort Corso, basically?
I think that goes down Industrial Road.
Industrial road.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Anybody else would like to speak? Yes.
Kelly Stewart, Nebraska City, 2401 Fort Corso. I'm not sure, I'm sorry, I had to work, I just got off. Perry, were you able to pass along my questions about the chemicals and the water?
Yeah, I forwarded your email.
Okay. Jeff, can you, so the question that I was, as I was contemplating things, the chemicals that we are adding in via the utilities in order to treat the sludge on our water. Is that being tested on our water on tap report, and what is that chemical, like, is it possible that that can make its way into our drinking water? As another aside, that we're having to add in extra chemical, could that affect our drinking water, and is it, I don't know the chemical composition of what that is, and there's so many listed on that water on tap report. So anyway, Jeff.
So as you mentioned, Shelley, there are chemicals added to help our process treat the byproduct that they are being sent to us. It's a coagulant and a polymer that are introduced to the system to help settle out solids that come through. That is our effluent enters the Missouri River, which is downstream of our well field, so there is no contamination of that. Those are all approved chemicals for treatment, so EPA has signed off on those for potholes.
Okay,
And we have to be in compliance when we discharge it,
okay.
so that we're not affecting the downstream.
No, okay. Secondly, question, can somebody who is not a Nebraska City resident speak here? We have a gentleman here, Rodney, who.
I'm not from Nebraska City.
He's not from Nebraska City, but he has reached out and would like to speak to you guys about some possible solutions. And I think it would be well worth hearing what he has to say.
So technical solutions, I'd rather put you in touch with Target.
He's tried, and they are not responding.
Do you want me to speak or not? I'm gonna do it respectfully.
I can,
Okay, Rodney Hyman, 71285, 639 Drive, Dawson, Nebraska. No, I don't wanna address the solution tonight. I do have some questions. Have any of you guys been to Schuyler, Nebraska on a 90-degree day in the last, not year, 2 year, 20 years? Number two, do you guys have a recollection of who lives in Schuyler, Nebraska? Most of the people that live in Schuyler, Nebraska happen to work at the plant at Schuyler, Nebraska. If you work in the plant at Schuyler, Nebraska and smell that smell all day, and then you walk out of that building, do you think it's an odorous problem to them? My point is, I don't think I would use Schuyler, Nebraska as a role model for Nebraska City. I'm disappointed. I'm sorry.
I never said Schuyler was a role model, I said you're pulling.
But they're pulling back period in. I'm just gonna say respectfully, it's not working there, and I hate for you to waste your city's time. I don't, you call this a city or a town, it's Nebraska City, so respectfully, just call it a city. But I hate for you to waste your city's time, you know what I mean, so tough deal, but the other thing is, Cargill is a big company. This is the first meeting that I've been to in this situation. And until you drop the hammer, they're not gonna do anything, because they have probably 50 to 60 other problems that they're gonna have to drop the hammer and spend money on. Not disrespecting the board in any way, but you're gonna have to drop the hammer, you're gonna have to pull the strings, you're gonna have to squeeze a little harder and everything, so tough deal, but I'll try to keep working with Cargill and everything, so we can solve the odor problem outside of the plant too, and everything, so we can pull it out of the air. That's the easy thing. I invented that 8, 9 years ago. The problem is, what do I do with it? What do I do with what I pull out of the air? Just like what I did at one other company up in Nebraska. I got rid of contaminant, but then what do I do with the contaminant? It was better off where it was, you know what I mean? So let's solve the problem where it starts, not after the fact and everything, so. But my only thing that I'm saying to you is you're gonna have to put the hammer down. I'm not telling you what to do, but until you do, you're gonna have an unhappy town, so help us.
Anybody else like to speak? Rather you say something now. You can say, God, I wish I would have said something. All right, thank you all for your help. Moving on to item 12, discussion / action to approve purchase of the 2024 Ford Ranger XL public properties in the amount of $42,297. And the sale the old Jeep.
Marty Stelmach, construction facility manager. So as recent, the council redeemed some surplus items and we have a couple of options. Asking the council to consider tonight to replace the Equinox, kind of pass that down and kind of deem the Patriot surplus that the custodian currently uses. This vehicle is used by all departments, so it's kind of shared across multiple arenas, but, so in putting the budget together, like, we received $31,275 from that auction. I'm asking to use $30,550, $725 of parts pickup. So this was kind of the street and public property surplus, and planning to cover the $11,747 out of 2 line items out of the public properties. We would leave enough money in that account still if we got to the finish line and it was done in the house. That's what those dollars are there for. I don't see us getting too in the queue, with this much time left in the budget. below MSRP, so, that comes to $42,297, so I would answer any questions about any of the vehicles I'm talking about here, but,
I will, motion to approve the purchase of the 2024 Ford XLT Ranger in the amount of $42,297.
I'll second. Motion is second, further discussion?
Or keep it in the order we saw. I didn't know if we needed to notate, give you approval. to
Yes.
sell it, 'cause that's the agenda.
I would like to just deem it surplus, kind of put that back, just put it on an auction and put it back into the bucket.
Do you know when you're gonna do that?
I haven't asked around departments, I could come back and deem it surplus, I haven't asked around it, I don't know what the need or who would need that, but I haven't checked those boxes.
Okay, I think we probably should ask around just in case there's, I don't know, that parks or other departments have something even worse than the chief. So I'm not sure. So do you guys want to go ahead and have this approved for surplus now, or do you wanna have us ask around first?
We could deem it surplus and I can make sure before I listed it.
I just know that we by orders code, whatever we have to approve it to be sold before you use it, so I'm thinking we would just add that to your motion.
Yeah.
Now, and then if Marty wants to,
Okay.
see if somebody else wants it first, that's fine.
Yeah. I will add that to the motion to have that approved surplus and at auction.
I will second.
Okay?
Any further discussion? Roll call, please.
Commissioner Osowski?
Yes.
Commissioner Whalen? Yes. Commissioner Sharp?
Yes.
Commissioner Cheney?
Yes.
Mayor Beckman?
Yes. Item 13 is special size action to approve the JEO task order number 25, City Square, that's the city hall area. Improvements in the amount of $45,000.
Marty Stovall, Construction Facility Manager. So, this project is kind of a small project off the 1 and 6 year plan. This year, all the street funds were not budgeted. We had $255,000 that was unbudgeted. Council approved the, electronics upgrade that should be happening very soon on Fort Corso, but, I would like to move forward with this task force to design that small project. Knowing that this 1 year plan that's getting ready to come to council soon is gonna be a little fluid, it's gonna be hinging on kind of the next item with some grant funds, but I would like to get the engineering done on this, so then we can put the puzzle pieces together. So the amount is, $45,100, but truly is, in this budget year, only be $23,000. I'm just trying to get it to design, but come back with a task order to add to it, like, so all out, maybe we shelve the project because it fits in the following year better, but if you understand what I'm doing here, that's where I'm at. But I am wanting to approve the city square improvements task order. First,
Would eliminate probably the most odd stop sign in Nebraska City on 15th Street. 14th Street. The arrow with the sign sticking out. We're not gonna fix that, we're gonna keep that.
well, we could eliminate it.
No, we can't keep it, but it's an odd,
But yeah, so I guess with all that, I would like, consider approval of task order 2503 in the amount of $45,100.
I will motion to approve the JEO task order 2503 City Square, City Hall area improvements in the amount of $45,100.
I'll second. Motion is second, further discussion, so you're splitting this bill, Marty, over the fiscal years.
So, this year's, the construction side of things, if it would be built, I will budget it in next fiscal year.
But all of this 45-1 will come out of this.
Correct. No, the 23 will come out of this year's budget for sure. If I know that we're gonna build it, I will budget the remaining of the construction side of things in the next fiscal year.
Okay.
Along with the project, so.
Any further discussion?
Commissioner Whalen?
Yes.
Commissioner Sharp?
Yes.
Commissioner Osowski?
Yes.
Commissioner Cheney?
Yes.
Mayor Beckett?
Yes. Item 14, discussion slash action to approve JO task order 25-02, provide engineering services for fifth Orso, 11th and 19th Street, improvements in the amount of $161,150.
Marty Stovall, construction facility manager. So, this is Fifth Corso from 11th Street to 19th Street. It's gonna include some, all new curb, some all new storm sewer in that area. Some sidewalks, some ADA, all ADA ramps and an asphalt overlay. This project, I'm trying to get ahead on the design with these same street funds that were unfunded this year. So we can kind of get a jump and kind of maybe have an upper hand on the application for the grant funds through CDBG. So, I'm asking for approval to move forward with the design, the task order 2502 in the amount of $161,150. So, Mr. Mayor, same thing here, is just this year I'm signing up to spend the 91.8 and have it shelved, ready to bid. And the following will be budgeted in next year. So we're easily covering these two amounts that we're gonna expend in this fiscal year.
I'll motion to approve, JO task order number 2502, providing engineering services for fifth Corso improvements in the amount of $161,150.
I'll second.
Motion is second, further discussion? Roll call.
Commissioner Osowski?
Yes.
Commissioner Sharp?
Yes.
Commissioner Whalen? Yes. Commissioner Cheney?
Yes.
Mayor Beckett?
Yes.
Item 7:12 p.m.
Adjourned.
That's it.